Jawa just like,
Yo,
Oh, I got pulled.
I
Give me
pulled
one
you
sec,
over.
buddy. I was one second. Oh, there he is. There he is.
I,
Um,
I'm here.
uh,
So,
yeah, I was like, what happened? No, so Josh, those I paid $40 for both of those total. So
Okay.
we'll get some decent. That's just kind of what I'm looking at. Those are what 15-second videos, 20-second videos. So we'll get
Yep.
some, and we can customize them however we want because I have direct connection with it. So,
I'm gonna stream. Honestly, I might. Yeah, I'm gonna stream my POV. I'm just gonna hang out in a different chat though, because I
yeah,
get so distracted by other people talking. So
fair enough.
I'm
fair
gonna
enough.
hang out in the general chat while I do the streaming. I do have it set up so it doesn't carry anyone's voiceover. So if anybody wants to join me, they can. So
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about it. To see how this
okay.
race goes. Cool. What up, Buggy?
How you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back.
Good man. Sorry I was gone last week. Just had to take care of some stuff. Just
Yeah,
busy.
I don't really think. Would you miss a stream?
Yeah, it was just the open event, so I didn't feel too bad about it. I was like, you know what? I can't feel too bad. It was an open race, I think. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't
That
anything
wasn't too bad.
crazy.
Are we already
So
live?
we are already live. I
Awesome.
guess this week we don't have a TV cam, so I'll have to operate the drone cam more often than not, or we get into some funkiness.
Hey, no worries.
Let
I'll
me
do a
set
lot of
up my
talking for
POV
you.
for you. It's been a minute. Forgot
Yep.
forgot the
While you
steps
do that,
here.
I grabbed a little drink, so I'm not parched for this long little race here.
And cap you a little bit here. Keep the quality up on the main stream. Alright, let's get this party rocking. That could actually be why it was so loud, honestly. I may have prematurely turned that down. Now it don't sound too bad. Yeah, there you go. That sounds a little better.
Cool. Yeah, no, sorry.
Oh,
I was
wait.
like 5 feet away from the microphone.
Oh,
Get
you're
back in
good.
the seat. There
We're
we
gonna
are.
have to wait and see if we get anyone to let us know how the volume is.
We'll see for sure. We'll
Yeah.
definitely see. Good times, good times.
Uh-uh.
Let me run up the video here just so you can see it.
The city
Live.
track saga continues, though, huh?
It does. These street tracks are crazy, man. Like, they're just really challenging, and it's really fun to see these guys like manipulate them and work their way through them. Especially because we haven't really done one of these seasons before, where it's MX5s and 3 courses, no runoffs. Very punishing courses.
Yeah, we're heading into the tighter stretches of the season. I know the next season event is Macau after this, everybody's favorite. So that'll definitely be a good one. But this is like a nice way to warm up to it. It's definitely wide enough in most areas to get 2 cars through, barring a couple turns.
Most
So
definitely. And that first corner onto that right at that finish line is definitely tricky though.
absolutely. As we see Slay take a little bit of a hit going into First Street.
Or it's going to be a very common theme here. Definitely going to see a lot of pushing around here, especially some of these corners being the one that you can really fight through instead of having to deal with what we've had in the past, where some of those corners and these straight tracks are really hard overtaken. Especially the last season race we had, Trio Rivera's, I think it was. Trio Rivera's, I'm probably saying that completely wrong. But that was very difficult to pass in the corners. This one seems to be quite the opposite. It's going to be great opportunities.
Yeah, there's then certainly like sectors like this where there's one fast line through, you're going to see a lot of guys fighting to be the first one into it. And when they go too wide together, they're going to let some people catch up behind. So any battles is definitely going to cost time. We do see Articulate Fox putting up a 2:08.4 right there.
It is still fresh in the practice session. Most of these guys haven't got their actual laps in. I'm seeing a couple different laps. Looks like Articulate just put up his best laps of 2:07.649. So he's still about about a second off that pace, but we'll definitely see him improve throughout this practice session.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're sitting at 27-degree track temp, so I'm sure they got a little cold, or lack of heat rather, in the tires, and the the wind. I can spin around the map here so we can get a better picture, but looks like it's not really going to help them anywhere. In fact, a little bit of a headwind down First Street. Which is what we see Rev going through now. Rev is one of our new additions, so he has not been ranked yet, or they have not been ranked yet. We'll see where they end up at the end of today's events. I think we might have 2 racers in today. Not positive.
I'm seeing a couple new names, not new name. I think Rev is our only brand new driver here. I'm seeing some guys that have only been with us for about 1 or 2 races, that being Shiloh and Frank Mann, and as well ETD. Or not ETD. That's Ellis, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm just thinking about our new drivers here. I'm seeing our newer drivers: Rev, Shiloh, Frank Mena, and then ETD is Ellis, right? He's been here for.
That is Elvis, yeah. And then I know the Inferno and Ricky Richmond, I think, are part of that new crew. So we actually have, I think, more new racers than we do old at this point in tonight's event. So that'll be exciting to see.
Most definitely. We're going to see some more drivers join in later in the session once we get towards qualifying. But it is going to be really interesting to see these newer guys battle out with the quote-unquote OG members of Triple R.
Get rid of these tags here.
There we go. I got to memorize all these liveries. Still working on that, so it won't be perfect, but.
Yeah, thankfully a lot of these guys have numbers, and they've got numbers on their little icons. Might be harder for you to see, so obviously I apologize, but
it's all good. I can make do. Throw it in full screen here. This 34-inch monitor should help a little bit.
Just a wee bit. Put this off to the side a little bit.
They're all within a couple seconds here. They've only had a couple minutes to put down some laps, but they're all within a couple seconds here. We're definitely going to see that improve. Fox does have a pretty demanding lead, being a second and a half faster than the following driver, being Wiba in P2. But with that being said, Fox's current best is our current lap that he did last was not a fast lap for him.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll have to see how traffic comes into play. I mean, no matter how far ahead you get, these are quick laps, even if it's only a 20-minute race. So any accidents with the walls is going to start to separate the grid, and we'll see what happens as they run out of room in some of these passing zones to get around cars. Certainly the reverse grid is going to be something to watch for.
Most definitely. Speaking of our lap times here, we did lose one of our faster drivers. She just actually decided to go race with some faster guys, from what I've heard, and that being Fox's main competitor in this race. Are we thinking that we're going to have some drivers that are going to compete with Fox, or do you think that Fox is going to be able to just run away with it?
Well, we've definitely seen a lot of hot laps out of Fox. I think consistently across the board, he's definitely hung out with Jesus, and I don't know if Wyatt did stay for any races, but I will say Fox finds himself at the peril of a lot of these real rookie antics, certainly in the reverse grids. So I'm expecting a strong race 1. I think Fox will get out ahead of the chaos early and get to drive in peace for quite some time. It's race 2 where my concerns lie. They've had some difficulty navigating those newer drivers, and definitely find themselves with a poor stretch of luck heading into another reverse grid evening.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of those 2 races, right? It's more important to have consistent 2 races than it is to be fast one race and slow the next, right? So Fox being able to put up decent points in both races is super important, because we'll see other people in his class try and fight for that. And if they can put up more consistent times, like they P2 in both races, they'll beat him out. If he's P1 and then comes in, say, P5.
Yeah, and right now we're on board with Slay, who I believe is in one of the leading battles. I'll take a look over for just a moment. Oop, can't even see at all. Looks like Slay actually missed a race, so it might have been last week that we were short Slay. So Slay, 19 points on the board, but using up 2 of the drops already. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out to the season for them.
Oh, most definitely. These guys do have 4 drops total, and those drops are super important. So trying to make every single race possible is really helpful for most of these guys. But we do understand that it is hard to make every single race.
Yeah, well, we definitely got to leave that wiggle room, but the more you make, the better your chances are. As with Fox's case, as I said, had some rough reverse grid luck. They'll be able to make use of that with the drops if they attend all the races. It'll be like it never happened. So definitely attendance plays a role, but there is a cushion for the times where you can't make it.
Oh, most definitely. We are seeing a build-up here where it's definitely seeing some guys here put up some better times than they were before. So not a super spread out grid here. Within a second, I mean, the second sounds like a lot, but these Miatas are not the fastest cars. So being within a second is still pretty close.
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to see the guy in front of you, and if you can keep it within a half second, you'll be within a drafting opportunity. Chris C won't find themselves in that range just yet, but it looks like Brett Anderson might, or no, 61 is going to be Frank Mena heading past the Gunners down Constitution Avenue. That's a great name right there.
Much easier names than the last time we had a season race. Being here in America, we won't butcher these names near as much.
Yep, we'll do our best as they go down Delaware Ave. Turning into Columbus Circle and now Lewis Iana.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yep. North Capitol. Huh?
I will say having 15 guys on circuit this early in the practice session is pretty good, actually. We should see close to 20 racers this race. So 30 minutes left in our practice session, so I'm definitely intrigued to see if we can get that get a full grid here.
And we are seeing a few of the bigger names pop on there. Jay being another one we know capable of some pretty solid hot laps. Wibba seems to be giving some good competition to Articulate Fox, so I think we might have a little bit more competition up front than we're given credit originally. But we'll have to see. It is all up to the racers. Ooh, a nice close little moment there as we let Fox go through. We'll take a peek into the pit, see who is leaving. Oh, looks like Chrissy's actually going to be heading in for the moment. So, oh, do we got 2 of those? Oh, nope, just overshot the pit box and confused me. Let's take a stab across the grid here and see who we can grab on. It's going to be the man from Canada. So I getting his beak wet.
That beautiful Canadian livery there. We've seen a lot of interesting liveries this season. Interesting being very unique, which is awesome to see. Seems like he's having a little bit of trouble just finding out his braking zones here, but he may not have had as much practice as other drivers because it is hard to get a ton of practice during the week, especially with these races being right on a Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say these guys, for not having practiced, though, they typically end up finding a way to stitch together a pretty decent lap, or at least more often better than I would be capable of. So power to them.
Oh, for sure. Having 45 minutes of practice before the qualifying starts is definitely very helpful for these guys, especially if they're not able to make the open practice sessions during the week. I will say I just see Thorne Maddox here joining us in this race tonight. He was one of our contenders in the 4-hour endurance race at Feldberg, who placed pretty decently with his teammate Basecamp. I'm very excited to see what he does in these MX5s. They are a very different car than the car he drove in the endurance race, that being Radical. But great to see him out here tonight.
Yeah, actually, speaking of that, we did have Christian Crafton and Chris C have a bit of a power outage during the endurance race, so they weren't able to compete for the entirety of the event, but they definitely showed up and showed out for the time that they were able to contribute to the grid there. So that was pretty cool to have them with us. And they seem to be pretty decently close together today. Christian might be trying to take a few notes from Chris here in the early moments of practice. See Christian now going 2:15, so it seems to be working.
It does indeed. It's a 2-second improvement from his previous best, so we're definitely seeing some improvements from all of our drivers. They're getting closer and closer to Fox's time, 2:08.4. Now we're seeing Nick Cruz joining us today in the number 29 car. Another one of our more long-time drivers here at Triple R.
Yeah, I think at this point, Jay might be, well, Jay being staff, obviously, I guess that's kind of a cheat there. Same goes for Josh Fulton. But Seb Bellew, Slay, those guys have been here for quite some time. I don't know if I saw Hunter on the grid yet, but Hunter definitely has been here for a while. A few guys since the early beta season, so interesting to see the veterans versus the rookies, so to speak. Funny note, Articulate Fox has been on the time trial server for quite some time, but I think this is the first season we've had them compete in, or maybe the second. I can't fully recall, but I think this might be the first season.
It is definitely one of the two. I definitely remember when I first joined Triple R that there was I remember Fox being only the open events and time trial events. So it is awesome to see him in the season events, either the first or second time here. Definitely showing out and showing his dominance as the season continues to continue.
And continues to continue. It does, as Frank Mena swings through with a decent little lap there, pushing a 2:10.7. So everyone trying to get into that single digits, so to speak, seems to be the big goal for competing for the top spots tonight. Let's see who we got behind. This is going to be Seb Bellew in the 711, number 22. We got a few number 22s tonight, I think. I feel like we've had one other.
Looking here through the grid, I'm not quite seeing it yet, but I might be completely wrong here.
Maybe it was Articulate Fox. Let's take a look over there. Oh, nope, 99. All right, I stand corrected. Well, these guys have actually done a good job of not overlapping numbers then, it seems.
That is great for sure. That number 22 711 car is awesome and iconic with those green rims. One of the more unique liveries we've had so far.
I gotta say, that is the part that does it for me, because you don't see a lot of customization as far as the wheel goes or the roll cage goes, so a lot of attention to detail with this livery. Definitely nice, and some relevant sponsors, if you will. Knox Gaming, I'm sure. Monster Energy, I'm sure. McDonald's, a few of us could all relate to.
Those spicy chicken sandwiches, man, they get you.
Oh, that they do.
I am curious to know if he created that livery himself or it was a paid one, because myself, I'm not artistically inclined enough to make them myself, so I always have to have somebody doing it for me. But if he made that himself, very impressive. Very, a lot of props to him, I should say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I will say that is one thing I regret about this season. I've tried to make a livery for someone nearly every season, but I didn't get a chance to this one, so I'll have to try and squeeze some time in for season 6. Show some love to someone. I think we've actually got the 2 that I've made for other people on the grid currently. And then there is one other livery that I've made that I don't think is assigned yet this season. see.
I would definitely love to do a giveaway at some point before the next season starts with my livery designer. If you can get one done for me, I'd love to do a little giveaway for one of these guys. It'd be very
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that it will. This was the one for season 4. Patchy, I think actually this one was a giveaway, and Patchy ended up winning the draw. Or maybe no, I think it was. I saw his virtual truck company for European Truck Simulator, and I like the design of the logo, that Hornsby and Hall up front there. And I told him I would take care of one for him because I kind of had this pictured in my head from the get-go. Slay, I think, was the one who won a contest and ended up getting the red versus blue racer, as you can see there.
That was an awesome livery there. The two-tone definitely does it, and that Miller Lite the sponsor is awesome as well.
Little cat lady license plate to tire together, but definitely some fun projects. We'll have to do one for season 4. You haven't done none yet?
Sorry?
You haven't tried making one, or?
You know, I've messed around with it a little bit, but I'm just not I'm not very good at it. So I always have a guy who does mine, and he's a great artist.
Yeah.
He does a lot of cool liveries for some actual racing teams in real life, which is pretty cool.
Who do you? I don't know if he wants the publicity or not, but who, if you don't mind me asking, who does them for you?
Yeah, so some of the guys who are big into Assetto Corsa might know the name Jensson. He's pretty famous in the Assetto Corsa world for making some really cool liveries for I forget the name of his of the companies he's worked with, but he does a lot of cool liveries. A lot of his stuff is more Toshi, so it's kind of centered around anime. But he does a lot of stuff for me. He did my livery for the endurance race, which is super awesome, as well as Josh's livery.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of detail that goes into those anime ones, but I was just gonna say those Techly racers we did see at the event for the endurance, all 4 hours there. How does it feel, by the way, coming fresh off of a win? I don't think we've talked about that on the air.
Yeah, so I mean, endurance racing is, as we know, kind of is my thing. It's all I really do anymore. I don't have the time to spend on these sprint races. You know, learning these tracks and how important it is to have these super high lap times, super fast lap times. So I kind of focus on the endurance races. It does feel nice though to come off of a win there, especially being a solo driver. It was a little challenging, not having the ability to rely on somebody else to kind of carry your weight if you're not able to. So it did feel good. I will say I didn't have any leaderboard for that race, so I had no idea where I was. So I was just fighting with anybody and everybody that I could.
Oh wow, that's interesting. You just don't keep one up when you're racing, or?
I do, but every time that I did my long stop or I had to do a driver swap, the leaderboard would get a little bit messed up, and I wasn't able to see who I was actually racing with. I could see the gaps, but it would always tell me that I was in last place. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep racing.
Do you have a second monitor available or anything like that, or no? You were just you and VR, or how do you usually race?
I did have a second monitor up, but I was in chat with the fellow Techly racers, so I was more focused on the voice chat than I was the actual chat. I relied on Josh quite a bit for the information. He told me that who was behind me and who wasn't, so I just kind of. It was hard because I saw in the rearview mirror a purple car. We had 2 purple cars on track. We had the placeholder racing, which is purple. We also had the Beans coaching livery, which is also purple. So anytime I saw purple, I was just running as fast as I could, and I felt pretty defeated when Base Cannon and the Venus coaching livery overtook me. I thought I had lost it right there, but I ended up coming out on top. It was just great. I don't want to take up too much more time bragging about myself, but
no,
I did enjoy that race quite a bit.
I'm glad to hear it. It was absolutely fun to watch. Yeah, Base Cannon was definitely putting a storm back as far as a comeback mounting effort goes, but needed a 5-hour endurance, and definitely would have had it there. But good use of the time, man, and doing all 4 by yourself. You know, we'll head back to the action, obviously, as we head into the final 20 minutes of practice. But just know it was a fun one to watch.
I'm glad it was fun. It was fun to drive.
And speaking of fun, I don't think Ostrich has joined us yet for this season, typically sporting a lime green livery, but Josh Fulton is going to be in the lime green livery this season. So we've got Ostrich in the Caillou Racer.
That is a very interesting livery. It's kind of funny. It's almost a meme, if you will. But it's a great livery.
Now, I
altogether.
don't believe that that is the intent behind the livery, but that is what I've deemed it personally, because it's the only thing I can think of when I look at it.
No, it is great. It almost reminds me of a beach ball or one of those old, the older style of umbrellas that have the
Yep.
three or four different colors on them.
I could definitely see that there. There's something about it. It's so simple, yet it's so perfect at the same time. And also some great attention to detail. You can see that they had to actually outline the fender and the door to get it to line up the way that they wanted it to. So a lot of time and patience going into that livery. Ooh, and
sure.
Speaking of patience or lack thereof, Patchy's going to send it through, sneak his way in for a quick hot lap there. As Ostrich still warming up to the track, gonna let him go by and try and take some notes from the number 4 car in front. We've got 4 guys, it looks like, underneath the 210 marker now. Patchy putting up a good score. I don't think we've checked in with Wibba yet, so we'll see what they can do. These walls are quite something, huh?
Oh, for sure. These walls definitely making it a little more challenging for these guys. You can't really abuse those curves as much as you'd like to, as we've seen in our previous seasons. Wibba's been has been doing it pretty well. He has been taking care of his car and avoiding those walls as best he can. He's only about 6/10 off of Fox in front of him, just not far at all. Still within draft rank. If he can keep that up throughout the race, he's definitely been battling ground, if you will, to the man in front of him. I will say that Jay behind him is only less than 3/10 off, which is well within draft rank as well. So our top 5 or 6 guys are well within each other, the range of each other's drafts. So we'll see a really good battle there.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 7 seconds with separating 17 positions on the grid, so it's a far spread, but really not too far at all when you think about these MX5s and how quick anything can go wrong on these grids here. I'm honestly not even too familiar with what the first couple turns of the track are, so we'll stick with Wibba as they turn into this first straightaway. We'll get a chance to see kind of what this starting grid is going to look like.
A very short start to this race, from what I've seen. A lot of the tracks we've done in the past have been a more of a longer start straight, with this one being really, really short. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys manage to get through T1 and T2, especially with how tight that kink is in the first corner.
Mm-hmm. It certainly looks
some carnage.
Interesting. If you look at the way these pit boxes are lined up, looks like these guys are going to be kind of almost all over the place, if I'm seeing this correctly. And then this is one hell of a turn 1, if you ask me. So they won't be able to start too quick. The first couple turns come early. That actually might benefit them. They won't be able to get into the chaos too quickly.
Almost definitely. We've seen in the past with these MX5s, whenever they all get barreled down towards that T1 going in 4th or 5th gear really fast, we see a lot of carnage. And with them only being able to get to, what would you say, 2nd or 3rd gear, we shouldn't see as much carnage. But that being said, it is a very tight first corner, which could also do the opposite. So it's kind of one of those things where it's up in the air right now. I'm not sure how it's going to go. We've never seen this track raced with the MX5, so it's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch.
Now, I don't have my scoreboard up, or sorry, my season standings up. I'm not sure if you do, but are there any big points battles we should be keeping our eyes on tonight that you can see? Or if not, I can pull up mine.
Let me pull mine up really quick, and I will let you know for sure.
Yeah, you could be my analyst there.
I will definitely check that out for you. Pull up our.
Hey man, Ricky Richmond's car looking a little bit beat up there, but It's just practice, so now's a good time to get out all the kinks, small bells and whistles.
Let me pull up my stuff here, and I will get you some information.
Now, we were talking earlier about how there's not really any runoffs. Thankfully, with the way the racing line goes, you end up actually kind of turning in very tightly. So if you do go wide, you're very out of the way of where most people will be trying to come through the turn. So although there's no runoffs, it's definitely safer than your average street track, and has more of a cushion than these guys can expect to see next week when we head over to Macau. Or
sure
maybe not next week. I think it's
race.
2 weeks from now. Can't fully recall.
Yeah, Macau's a very tough track indeed. That is one of the first tracks I ever raced here. Triple R and Josh have a little bit of history on that track. Not to get sidetracked, but we see Ricky Richmond get spun a little bit on the curb there. Back to what I was saying there is that me and Josh had a little history there in Macau in the F4 car. So definitely curious to see how these guys do in the Miatas, especially with Macau being a super tight course compared to this one.
Yeah, I'm very curious myself to see how that one shapes up. I'm hoping we get like another good 20-car grid for that as well. Racers have been doing a good job of filling in slots as people drop out of the seasons for various reasons so far, but it's still been a good show. Excited to see as we get further along and more drops are evident, we can start to see where the real battles are lying. I do see that Shiloh has declared Ricky Richmond their direct rival, in a joking way, of course, but you can see their times are actually fairly close together, so we might see a good battle between them.
Oh, most definitely. Them both being new racers to this series can be super interesting, especially when, like you said, they're very close together. 4/10 is not far at all. Miata is still within draft range. Let's hope they can keep it clean and see what they can do for sure.
Yeah, and again, Shiloh did take the spot of Scent and is currently rocking their livery, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do with that amount of pressure on their shoulders. Scent being one of our expert racers in previous seasons, so maybe the livery will bring them a little bit of good luck and get them further along here.
Oh, for sure, Rob. I have pulled up the official season standings here. In the rookie class, we're seeing Christian Crafton with 39 points and Chris C., his teammate for the endurance race, being 1 point behind with 38. So that's definitely going to be a really cool battle to see today. You did just talk about Shiloh. They currently have 14 points, and their quote-unquote rival, being Ricky Richmond, has 26. So there is a big gap there, but we will see if Shiloh is able to make a big gap between Ricky and if they're able to kind of get closer in that point standing.
Yeah, and I believe Shiloh missed our first week of racing.
They did indeed, from what I saw. So they do have a drop, and there are plenty of those. So we're going to see the standings change as the season goes longer and longer. I will move to the amateur class now. We're seeing Inferno leading the amateur class with 36 points, and Nick Cruz only 1 point behind with 35. So another super close battle. Which is super interesting to see. We're seeing Inferno in P16 currently in practice. Doesn't mean too much. These guys are just getting their laps in. But Nick Cruz is quite a few spots ahead, running about a full second ahead. Which, again, isn't too much because we said these Miatas aren't the fastest cars. So 1 second is not far at all. You're still well within that fighting range if you're able to put up some decent laps.
Yeah, now, consistency, like you mentioned a little earlier in the broadcast, is everything. So no matter how good these guys think they're doing, it'll come down to how good they can stay lap after lap. These times don't really mean too much if they can't keep themselves out of the chaos and ahead of the pace. Looking at Inferno now through 3rd Street. Oop, and pulls to the side to let a nice little grouping pass by. We'll grab on with Seth Bellew from Canada behind, currently watching Frank Mena go for a little bit of a fun move here on Ricky Richmond, lining up a pass but not going to take it. as they turn the corner. Oh, I stand corrected, into Pennsylvania. Frank Mena alongside Ricky pulls through Constitution, but Ricky's going to slot back in for the draft. A little bit of fun during practice here as Seb Bellew watches. I think he's going to try and sneak his way in and join in on the fun, as this is a real quick left-hander into Delaware. Seb takes it a little tight and a little slow on the brake, but manages to pull back through. Looking for the opportunity around Columbus Circle. I think we're going to see a Seb dive here, and we do, into North Capitol. That'll put Ricky alongside Seb, and Seb manages to squeeze through. Now, in the timings, Ricky is not really looking for the move past either one of these guys, but Seb and Frank definitely trying to compete, as Seb within a second of Frank's time. Nice little hold there, huh?
Great save there. I thought he was going to end up in that inside wall for sure. I do now see some panel in the chat here saying, "Let's go Fox." So if you are in the YouTube chat, let us know who you're rooting for, and give us some feedback here. Definitely know what you guys are thinking, and we'll definitely look at some of these racers.
Yeah, and we'll take a peek over, but I was going to say, I would think Fox is still on an out lap. Took a couple laps to regain their composure. See, they got a number 72 on the back of their car. I think that's just to confuse the masses. 99 is going to be their racing number. It's kind of the perfect plan, though, because if they accidentally hit somebody, right, or like brake check someone, someone will be like, well, the 72 car brake checked me.
You'll never know.
Who's
from
the
there.
72 car? Fox, if you're listening, don't do that. All right, so we're going to get a hot lap here. Coming across the line, it's really slow first two corners, but usually that means there's a lot of time to gain or lose, with an exit into a rather quick, slow quick wide right-hander. Oh, I was gonna say finds a little bit of time, but also finds the wall. Gonna be in a little bit of danger until they're not. Still seeing 19 on the grid, taking a look at the live timings. That is what we're confirmed for at the moment. 5 minutes left of practice before we have our 15-minute qualifying session. These guys will have a couple of opportunities to set laps, considering roughly 2-minute pace. Well, a little more than a 2-minute pace, but with a 15-minute qual, I'm assuming we'll see about 8 attempts from most of these racers. Probably only 4 or 5 from some of our more competitive guys up top. You know, they like to tweak their setups and things.
Oh, for sure. I definitely will say we have seen the time shrink here. We went from having most of the farthest being a 2-minute and 30-something second lap to Thorne right at the rear here at 2:22. But the majority of our racers are all within about 7 or 8 seconds here, which is not much at all.
Ooh, looks like a little vote goes live to kick Seb Bellew for being a little too quick, I would imagine. Finds himself in 8th position with a 2:11.106. It does not seem like the vote is going to pass, so he'll get to stay in the race. Every once in a while, someone misclicks a button. I don't think anybody was looking to ban Seb, or hopefully not intentionally.
For sure, they could be having a little bit of fun too. They're all definitely in VC right now, so you never know who's messing with who.
No, but speaking of things you never know, it looks like Jay actually just snuck through with a 2:08.7. I did not notice when they put that one up, but that puts him in pretty good striking distance of Articulate Fox up ahead. That being said, they are also one of those racers that gets caught up in the chaos pretty frequently. So hopefully they don't get eaten through the second race reverse grid as well. Let's take a moment to take a look at this track. It is a work in progress by, was it Base Nuke? Is that how you say it? Do you remember?
I do not personally have not looked at the track
Or
at
Nuke
all.
Drop.
I
I think
think
it's
he's
Nuke Drop, I think is the one.
it very well could be.
Yeah. But anyway, they're doing a good job here setting up a nice, like, oh, a very detailed DC. Look at this. This goes way out.
Wow, way more than I would have expected. Those
Yep.
tracks are just the track themselves.
So definitely covered every angle, made sure that you can see buildings no matter where on the track you are. So that's always nice. What would you say one of your favorite modded tracks are?
It's a good question, actually. It depends on what I'm racing, to be honest. I do love Interlagos. It is a great track there in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's a great shorter track. I mean, I'm an endurance guy, so I'm a little biased. I love Le Mans. It is great, great track itself, as well as in Nordschleife. I love that track.
Of course, of course.
But when it comes to these shorter tracks, I love Coda in Road America. Being a little biased towards the American tracks, but those are like my top three. It's going to be most likely Coda, followed by Interlagos, and then Road America for sure.
Very nice, very nice. That's definitely some good solid tracks there. I love LaSalle. That's got to be one of my favorites. I really like Macau. That'll be coming up. And then later this season, we're actually going to be doing this track, Port Newark, on the MX5s. I will say that is a very fast, very short track that is just, it is fun with some of these smaller cars. I don't know that I'd want to take a GT3 race or anything like that through there, but I think it's going to be pretty exciting for the MX5s. It's one of those you could basically draft your entire way through the race type of thing, so excited to see how that works out.
Yeah, these Miatas being more one of the slower cars that we do is kind of opens up a lot more options for tracks. You know, they definitely give us a little bit of a wider field of view for our options, which is awesome. These tracks you normally wouldn't run with some of the other cars that we do use for our other events. Seeing Brett now find the wall a tiny bit, but seems to not affect him too much. And rubbing his race, if you gotta rub the wall a little bit, you have to rub the wall.
I will be right back just in 1 second.
No worries, I'll keep everybody else entertained. We are seeing the majority of our racers in the pits now with only about 3 seconds left in this practice session. The rest of these guys are going to get their laps in, and we're going to see where they end up. We do have a pretty close field as Patchy does break into the 208s with 208 8.2 or 0.825, sorry. With not far behind the rest, are 2/10 away, being 209.071. With Anderson being just about 8/10 away, followed by Frank Mena, who is about 3/10 away there. We're going to see we're definitely going to see a little bit of a pack style racing form throughout this race, with some of the guys that are a little faster than some of the grid kind of packed together throughout this race with the second pack. The guys that are running in those 210s to 213s. I will say a lot of from about P9 to P16, we're seeing super tight grids. So we're going to see a very, very interesting race, especially when it comes to our reverse grid in race 2. We only have about 4 more guys left racing, Anderson being one of them. He is not on a hot lap currently. He's down about just under 2/10. We're going to see if he can make it up here. As he is, he can make it up towards the end of this lap. He doesn't seem to do it. as he heads into the pits here with a very interesting pit entrance, which is actually very nice. I do like it, but the pit exit is a little risky. So if any of these guys do have an issue during the race and they have to exit the pits, it's going to be very challenging to do it safely. Now we're getting a good look at all these liveries there. We might see a few more guys join towards the end of the or towards the beginning of the qualifying session. Some of our racers aren't quite able to make their practice sessions, so you might get that 20 racers on grid today. Our last racer to cross the line is going to be Seb Bellew here. We're going to see if he's able to beat his time of a 2:11.1, and he does with a 2:10.3, almost a full second faster, which is great for him. Puts him well within that fighting position in the top 10, possibly even a top 5. They're only a little bit over half a second from the guys in the P5 position. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see if he is able to break into that. He might also get one more lap as well if he's not checkered flagged yet. It does seem like Seb might have spun and hit the wall there, for what I'm seeing on our live timing board, which is going to put him back in the pits and get us moving on to our qualifying session. The racers have 15 minutes to set their best time before we get into the 2-race series for tonight. We're seeing most of these guys have got about 15 to 20 laps in the practice session. Some of them having more than others. But we are seeing quite a few drivers. We're seeing little to no drivers that have less than 5 laps. We're now just waiting for that green flag to drop for these guys in their qualifying session, which is definitely going to be very interesting to see. A lot of these guys will run not as fast setups for the practice, just trying to get used to what the car is going to feel like during the actual race itself. So we're definitely going to see some faster times from the guys up front running that qualifying setup with super low fuel and super sticky tires, with lower tire pressures, lower fuel, and even some more aggressive camber that's definitely going to weight those tires much quicker. Right, now with qualifying being underway, we're seeing, looks like Shiloh is the first one to make it out of the pits and into that clean air there. We're seeing a bunch of guys coming out all together, which can hurt them just a little bit, being packed up so much and bunched up here. Shiloh does have the upper hand, being the first one out, having a good gap to the racers behind.
Ooh.
We're going to see if that helps them out.
Looks like someone elected to go a little bit slow there. I think that's going to be actually Thorn, or no, 77 is the Inferno, just trying to make their way to the back of the pack probably. Let some of the chaos through. It's a nice little preview for what we'll have going on in just 15 minutes time here.
Most definitely. We're definitely going to see some cool battles. I mean, this track is so small, we're definitely going to see some cool battles as this race stretches out, and these guys are looking for the fastest time.
Just realized I had a fan blowing on my microphone every once in a while. I don't know if you caught that, but
I did not, so you're all good here.
All right, it can't be too bad.
Fox
I mean,
does
honestly,
something.
with the relatively tight grid, oh, I was gonna say it looks like we're doing okay, but I think I caught somebody sideways back here. Not gonna be able to see who it was, so we'll just catch back. Oh, how was that? Right back up to Fox. That's pretty convenient as they swing around. So everybody's going to be completing the outlaps now. 28-degree track temps, 3-kilometer-an-hour wind. There's going to be one more temp change in this session. We've got Fox heading down the main straight. I think he's got Wubba not really catching up, so Fox is going to have a decent room to set a lap in, but I don't remember what Fox's time was in relation to Shiloh, and that hit with the wall is going to cost him some acceleration into the start of the lap.
I think from what I saw earlier, the Shallow was sitting in our mid-teens, so anywhere from 13 to P16, and so a little bit of a gap between him and Fox there when it comes to times. We'll see if Shallow is able to keep that lead. I'll say that gap there in qualifying to get a good lap in, as well as Fox not having to run traffic.
I will say I'm very surprised. If you take a look at the track map, there's a massive gap in the track. Tons and tons of open space. I'm shocked these guys are sticking all together here and just going to, I guess they're all trying to ride a train around, but one wrong move up front and that's it for the rest of the guys here. The hot lap attempt is gone. If it happens in one of these tighter sections, we do see a little brush up on the live timings. Josh Fulton with the wall, Wibble with Shiloh, although those guys might be bump drafting along this back straight. Ooh, and a little spin from Brett Anderson there.
We do see those awesome little green flags there, which should go yellow as racers have issues, which is awesome for our racers today to get them a little more heads up on the actual track and what's ahead of them, which is very, very useful that we haven't seen too much of in our previous races so far.
Now, just to address something on our timings versus the server timings, the server does not count first of all, just to address this question, Fudzy, the colliding with the wall does not invalidate the lap on this track. There are some tracks that do have that set up, though, as the wall is the absolute limit, and as soon as you touch it, it registers as you crossing the limit. Now, for the timings, Articulate Fox's outlap is registered as the fastest lap of the evening on our side, with the broadcast side. The server doesn't register the outlap, so the current lap time of 2:11 is going to be their current qualifying time, if that makes sense. So right now, Patchy does have the top qualifying time of 2:09.6. We'll keep you posted if Fox posts anything quicker than that. I feel like we've been hanging out with Brett for a little bit here. Let's go take a look at Fox and see what they can put up. So it looks like they're in that 2:08 range right now, or at least pretty damn close to it. And they've got someone nipping at their heels there. That's going to be Patchy hanging on, looking to break into the 2:08s. They got pretty close on their qualifying attempts. No more massive headwind down the back straight, so I think they have a decent chance, all things considered. I'm gonna grab onto Patchy's POV here.
Alright, sorry about that. It'll take a little second to grab a fresh water there.
Yeah, absolutely. Patchy is looking pretty good, though. This might be Patchy's shot at that 2:08 that he's been clawing at and getting pretty damn close to. We see Fox up ahead, also on one hell of a heater. Looks like Patchy's got a purple sector 2, and Fox on a personal best sector 2. We'll see how Sector 3 wraps up coming around the final turn. Both racers taking very different lines. Cassie a little bit tighter around that apex. And crosses the line with a 208.7, but Fox does take P1 with a 208.5. I am J directly behind them, slotting in with a 208.6. So the positions you see are correct. The times you see are not. For now, we did just have that weather change. We went up to 31-degree track temps and an 18-kilometer-an-hour wind. Doesn't help them in too many spots. So we'll see what these guys are able to do with the warmer tires. A little over 7.5 minutes remaining, and they'll get some overtime as well. Let's take a break from the top part of the grid, though. Take a look at some of these other drivers. We do have Shiloh's teammate, so to speak, in the Castrol 1 car, Elvis, currently going by ETD. Looks like Elvis is creeping closer and closer to the 213s, where we see the 711 car of Seb Bellew sitting. They do have someone behind them. Looks like it's going to be the 67 car, or sorry, the 07 car of Brett Anderson with a 210.2. So Brett's going to be looking for a way by. The problem is the little crash with the environment there. But anyway, Brett's going to be looking for a way by, but the difference in time is probably going to be in these tighter turns where it is tricky to get past someone. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to find the opportunity, but we'll stick with him for a moment while he tries it. I think I'll have to go in for a tight dive through Louisiana. Elvis doing a good job of covering off that inside lane. Brett's going to stay back a little bit. Notice that they have a gap to someone behind. Trying to take a look. I think that's going to be Ricky Ricardo coming up, and Brett's going to just let the grid go in front, try and get a run up for some pace into the final turn and set a clean lap. We got quite a few racers now in the 208, 3 of them. Frank Mena in the 209s, not looking too good for the start of this lap. They'll have to find at least half a second to start making improvements over the course of these next couple turns. Trying to chase the lead of Ostrich on an outlap in front. You can see everyone's starting to spread up a little bit more now, so we can actually see kind of what's going on around the grid. You see two racers, I would say, still struggling to put a clean lap in, as I know both racers are capable of much more than what we're seeing on the live timings. Christian Crafton in the Gunners Fly Emirates Racer, going back through Columbus Circle and on to the final straightaway. So it looks like we'll get a clean lap here. I don't know that it's going to be enough to join his teammate Chris C in the 14 squad, but creeping closer for sure. Oh, I stand corrected. It doesn't put him in the 14 squad. It puts them right across the edge into the 14s. So that is an excellent lap there. You got Nick Cruz hunting him down with a 2:19.85. So that's going to be just over the time for them as well. Checking in with Thorn Maddox, a 2:20 on the board. It's got about 5 seconds to shave off to catch up to the back of the pack there, which is really the majority of it, as they've shaved that distance from 10 seconds, or sorry, from 7 seconds to 6 seconds right now, top to bottom of the grid. Again, Articulate Fox's time is a 2:08.5, not a 2:05, as that's the outlap. That was registered incorrectly on broadcast side of things. Sticking with Thorn Maddox, looking to see where they can find those 5 seconds. Looking pretty good though through Delaware. relatively similar to the lines that we've seen most of these racers take. Louisiana is always a big one. We'll see if we see them go down to second. They do, but a little bit late before shifting up into the third gear. So that's going to be where some of that time comes from. I think is that hesitation to go to a lower gear. They seem to want to make that third gear work the best they can. Two minutes and 50 seconds remain of qualifying. And they seem to be off their lap pace a little bit. So we'll let them keep going here, see if they can find a little bit more time on the grid. Ostrich currently on an out lap, so we'll leave them to it. Let's take a look and see if we've got anybody creeping for improvements. Jay is trying, but a little further off the pace. Patchy is somehow an insane time ahead of their Delta. I think maybe they left and came back. They did, so we'll see what this one goes in as, a 2:08.7, which was actually their top time now, so kind of funny. Take a look now at Frank Mena on an out lap. Same with Brett. Taking a look at Seb's going to make a little bit of an improvement here, trying to take Brett Anderson's place. It's going to be real close. It'll come down to the final turn out of First Street. Can they make something happen? Pushing real tight to the edge of the curb. Does cross the line and takes the position, moving up barely into P6, so that'll be a nice entertaining battle between them. We've got Slay now starting out the lap strong in the red versus blue. We'll see if they're able to carry this pace through the rest of the lap. They've got good open clean air in front of them, actually just the leader I think in front, or that might actually just be Patchy. Yep, Patchy sitting P3 up in front there. As Fox now crosses the line with a 2:08.449, so improving yet again. But we do have some relatively consistent 2:08s going on the board, so pretty interesting to see where that'll shake up for the race itself. We are going to get to see the results of that shortly. Slay powering through with some speed, currently looking to bridge the gap between Nick Cruz and Brett Anderson, although at this pace might just be joining Brett Anderson if they can have a clean acceleration into the back straight, which they do. It seems like a little toe would have gone a long way as they're slowly starting to creep down their Delta just a touch. Still looking like a chance at a 2:11. Oh, something happened here on their previous best lap, so as long as they can finish this corner strong, they'll find themselves in a relatively comfortable position in the top 10. Just shy of Brett Anderson's time, but ahead of bridging the gap. Let's see if anybody is in a good spot to improve. Articulate Fox, it doesn't seem setting any green sectors. Trying to take a look around here. I see Seb Bellew actually is on a green sector and a hot lap, but a rough final turn costs a chance to improve. Does improve a little bit, but not enough to build a big cushion to Brett Anderson, who's actually on one hell of a lap going through back through Columbus Circle. I think we are going to have to turn off announcer bot. He's killing me. But going down First Street seems to have lost all improvements on the time, but doesn't need to find much. Really just needs an improvement through the final turn. It is still possible. And I think he's going to do it. That might have bought on the time he need. It does. Just barely creeps through. and is able to take the position back from Seb Bellew. Took a few laps to do it, but manages to hang on. Nick Crew is going to be one of our final racers to set a clean lap. Has a decent chance, isn't going to do it through the back straight. And hopefully it was something like Ostrich's lap where something happened on this back straight, because they do need to find quite a lot of time. I'm not positive that they're going to be able to. It does not look like this will be the one, and I think, oop, that's not the Inferno behind. Not positive who that ended up being there. Oh, I think it was actually Josh Fulton sneaking across the line with a 2:13.65, so a new fastest lap for the man in the lime green. Looks like the Inferno, though, is still going for it, so they'll be the one to wrap up overtime and the qualifying session as a whole. Remember, this qualifying was sponsored by... No, wait, never mind. I'll do that here. Sponsored by your name here.
Exactly.
Someone I work with races sprint cars, and I keep asking him if I could put a sticker on his car.
That'd be hilarious.
One day he'll say yes.
Love to see you.
I mean, technically he said yes numerous times, but like one day he'll be serious when he says yes. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Love to see a triple R sticker on on a
mid-race. The car itself that he drives is in iRacing, I guess. Like it's
Really?
one of the liveries in iRacing, yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. Well, it seems like our qualifying times are locked in here. A super tight grid, though. I mean, all these guys are within a couple seconds of each other. I mean, from the top to the bottom of the grid.
Yeah,
So definitely
Thorne
the
even
super
shaving
team
off
race
some
there.
time, bringing, what was it, the 222 down to a 218. So shaved 4 seconds off in 15 minutes of qual. Who's to say they can't shave that 4 seconds off in the next 20 minutes of racing and be right there with them for race 2?
Oh, for sure. Now, Max is definitely within the range of picking off some of those other competitors that are close to him in on the grid. Definitely be very interesting to see how he does. He's one of our newer racers, so love to see him put out a great show tonight.
Now our man Josh looks like he's struggling on the street tracks a little bit today. But we've seen this before where he has a rough qualifying, strings together one hell of a race. So I'm not counting him out of anything just yet.
No, not at all. It's very hard for a lot of these racers to get comfortable by themselves. Once they get a train of cars in front of them, they can kind of find the best line through. And a lot of times that makes them faster, at least for myself.
Absolutely. And I mean, one thing is, you know, when you're watching a guy from a distance is one thing, but when you're right near him and you can literally hear when he's shifting and what he's shifting to, it's a huge, huge difference, you know?
Oh, for sure, most definitely. Sorry, I'm having a little snack here.
Yep, sneaking an Oreo.
I've been doing it throughout the throughout the evening. Before
Nice.
this race does start, so I'm going to take one little leave of absence just to get myself all situated.
Oh, I think the car's in the grid here, bud. Oh, okay. Not yet. All right, found our starting grid. It is lined up significantly more normal than we thought it was going to be, which is much more comforting. Looks like we did have one disconnect, Shiloh. Hopefully they get reconnected here in just a moment. 20 seconds remaining. And the lights are on here. Jay taking P2. Got the front row there with Articulate Fox. Away we go. Looks like Fox got the better start. And it's going to take advantage of that, cutting to the inside of both turn 1 and turn 2. Gets a nice lead out here. We see a little bit of a squeeze on Nick Cruz there. But overall, the racers managed to keep moving. I see Shiloh now loading in a little bit behind the pace. Same with Thorn Maddox. We'll see these guys head out in just a moment's time. I do see everybody's not too far off the pace, so everyone will be up back in the action in just a moment, but let's head to the front of the grid. So Articulate Fox, as we assumed, did get a little bit of a breakout advantage. Jay managed to make his way through as well. You see Wibba and Patchy and Frank battling it out, so a lot of these guys sticking together as far as the times go. This is going to be Ostrich and Brett Anderson trying to get by. You'd think we get a little bit more working together this early on to keep the packs close together, but we don't see it like that just yet. Josh Fulton got a little bit of a gap behind him, so we'll stick there as the big grid. Ostrich seems to have spun out, tries to go for a re-entry, doesn't end up costing anyone anything, but will slot back in relatively towards the back of the grid, as we have Shiloh still working their way up towards the pack. I do see Chris C looking for a nose in on the lime green car as they head down East Street, but not able to find something through. Heading back through Columbus Circle as the whole grid moves on. Looks like Jay and Articulate Fox, though, have started to break away, as Patchy making a move on Frank Mena. Is he going to be able to pull it off before the end of the straight? He's going to try, that's for sure. And pulls in tight with the wall. I think a little brush with it, but not enough to cost him the position. And we'll swing through Jersey and Southwest with ease. Now starting the chase to the number 48 car up in front. We do see Seb Bellew right alongside these guys. And another pack sticking close together here in the battle for P11. So everyone kind of looking for their chance to go fight for some overall points here. I think we see Josh Fulton get caught in a little wiggle with ETD. Now in danger of the Chris C and Christian Crafton duo behind. Those guys sticking pretty close together, as well as we see a little lag spike there, I think, from Ricky Richmond. Sends him momentarily outside of the action. We did see up front, it looks like Slay and Nick Cruz having a little bit of fun going side by side down the straightaway. Taking a peek behind, it doesn't look like anyone's going to get the chance to do that here, so we'll see who comes out on top. Looks like Slay might have had a better exit, so they will hold their preference for the turn through Delaware. But Nick has a much better runoff, as Slay has a moment of hesitation, goes to defend the inside line very, very early. Will it pay off? It is going to force Nick to give a second thought to hammering through, but into North Capitol, Nick's going to be looking for another chance. A real good battle going on here. Looks like Ricky Richmond may have found a little bit of misfortune as they fall down to P16 on the grid currently. As things start to level out a little bit, we are going to grab onto Nick Cruz, because Nick Cruz is currently looking in the rears at the Inferno as we head in to lap number 3. of the short 20-minute race here. So everything starting to spread out a little bit, but we do have a few key battles still shaking up. So Wibba in dangerous of both Patchy and Frank Mena behind Seb, lurking, waiting for the battle to start so he can join in the action. These guys know it's a tight track and they're all very familiar with how quickly that can go south. So definitely leaving a little bit of space for each other. I do see Josh Fulton doing a little bit of side-by-side action with Chris C. We'll see how that shakes up as they head into 3rd Street with a little bit of a switchback. I think they're going to see which one is the most dominating green.
You love seeing those green liveries fight side by side. That switchback was very interesting. Now they do know what line was faster into those two corners. As Josh does take a much tighter line into that, which seems to have helped him on his exit as well within draft range. We are seeing Christian Crafton though still within the draft range of the cars ahead or just outside of it. So we'll see if these two green liveries pull away from the gunner. As Josh makes an attempt through the inside, didn't seem to pay out, but he does still have a tiny bit of the inside, decides that it's not quite worth his time and moves back to the outside and take that into the racing line back. We are seeing Christian Craftsman make a little bit of a move though.
We are, and we were seeing Patchy look for the same opportunity, but this is a long straight and Patchy's in the draft. So I think this is where we'll see it happen. Same with in the back there, Christian Crafton will get that same opportunity down this straight in a moment if they can stick in the range. Ooh, and it looks like we did unfortunately miss Christian Crafton's move as they now find themselves a comfy half a second in front of Josh. So I think Josh may have had a little bit of a spin or a brush up there. Wibba does lose the position to Patchy, a little brush up with the wall, but still gaining a little bit of space to Frank Mena behind. So definitely has a nice clean line through the rotunda, but is it enough? He's got to stay with Patchy all the way around to this next straightaway. He's currently within drafting range, but that could go at any second, as we've seen. Try and grab on with Frank so we can get a better view of the three-way battle here.
And Frank here is going to take as much as he can from the guys ahead of him. He's going to learn some the lines they're taking, as well as taking advantage of the cars fighting ahead of him, which is going to slow them down and give him a better opportunity to make up almost 2 positions if he can play his cards right way.
And we do see the Inferno looking for a chance on Nick Cruz, trying to move up into P9 overall. Gets close, but not close enough as he starts to fall out of drafting range there. Ooh, a little spin from Wibba, but a nice save. Gonna lose him the position or the chance for Patchy, but now he's got to play defense as Frank Mena's gonna see that as a chance to move in. Gets a little closer through Louisiana. We've seen a lot of passes here through practice and qual. Haven't seen one through the race yet. And we'll have to wait at least another lap for that to happen. Ooh, Wibba starting to struggle a little bit with the tightness of the track. They are going to put these guys alongside each other. A little brush up with Frank there, but nothing too crazy as Wibba goes a little bit wide to the outside. Heading down First Street though, Wibba just shy of drafting range. Gonna have an opportunity probably on this next one, as we saw the speed through the rotunda, even with a brush up with the wall that Wibba carried. As we see Wibba get real close, but manages to avoid any serious contact there and sneaks right through Southwest Drive. We've got some nice action going on between these two and in other spots in the grid as we see Chris C and ETD battling it out for position on the leaderboard. Ooh, and a little bit of contact there with Frank Mena as Wibba sends one through. These guys are definitely getting into some hairy racing, and I can hear the engine of Seb getting louder and louder, so the man from Canada is starting to eat that up. Speaking of, though, Inferno slowly starting to move in on Nick as they move closer and closer to the straight, so this could be the opportunity that they've been looking for. Can they move in a little bit quicker here? They seem to have some better acceleration as we see the Delta dropping quicker and quicker. They might have a chance at the end as they're within the drafting range and they've got the speed. I don't think it's going to happen on this one.
It might though. He did have a very,
I was going to
very
say,
nice entrance into that corner there. He does have the inside now. We're gonna see if Nick Cruz can do a little switchback here. But Inferno seems to have taken the position pretty cleanly.
and Nick looking for the same lines and opportunities that the Inferno is taking. If he's going to want to get by, he's going to have to get a little creative, as these guys have been working on very similar pace, very similar lines for the first half of the race here. We'll take a look at the dynamic duo. Well, we'll take a look at Josh Fulton first, but now over to the dynamic duo of Chris C and Christian Crafton. These guys not giving up the fight. Again, only separated by 1 point in the standings. So this is a pretty big battle between the two of them to see who can make it by. I think ETD actually up front might be in their class as well. So it's going to be important for both of these guys to get by if they can force their way through.
They seem to have slightly different lines, but I will say it seems that Christie has a slightly faster one through that last few corners. He has a tiny brush with the wall, and he does almost lose it there, but still has the inside as Christian Crafton takes that position away from Christie.
Yeah, and we will say, or at least I will say, during qual, we did see a lot of quicker times from Christie. I think nearly a second ahead at most points. Sorry, I don't want to ignore the side-by-side action going on between Inferno and Nick Cruz once more as Nick Cruz gains the position down Constitution Avenue. We do see Seb Bellew and Brett have found their way into the fight up front as well, with Frank Mena now 3.8 seconds away from Wibba in P4. Despite some of the difference in times up top, I gotta say these guys are still very close together 13 minutes into the race. Like, it's still anybody's game. I'm not sure if lap traffic will come into play, but Thorn Maddox is a little bit further back on the track map than where I would expect, so definitely a possibility.
No, for sure. Like I was saying during qualifying, we're seeing those two packs start to emerge a little under 3/4 of the way through this race. It's definitely interesting to see how the guys from what is that P8-ish to P1, how they do it. We see someone spun there. Who was that?
Was that Slay maybe? That is going to be Slay, yeah. So that is the red versus blue car, Slay 40.
Very unfortunate there to have a spin like that right there in that section, but we'll see if he can make any time back and get back to where he was previously.
I didn't know Slay was in front of these guys, though. I don't see anybody.
It may have been a different car. I'm thinking about all of our purple cars that we have.
Oh, wait a minute. That was Thorn Maddox.
It very well could have been. So we did have a lap then. That was a lap car.
Okay, all right, so there you have it. That must have been Thorn Maddox then, and then the number 18 car on the grid is going to be Shiloh. So Shiloh, they've actually been incredibly consistent, actually moving up slowly on Ricky Richmond in P17. They've been right around the 31-second mark, I want to say, for the last 8 or 9 minutes. And you can see that they creep in and out. Ooh, and Brett Anderson, a little contact with the wall, going to be costly. Is Slay going to get by? Slay is. And then a little comfortable gap to Nick Cruz behind, but we'll tune into the fun with Seb Bellew looking for the move still on Frank Mena for P5. This is going to be an important pass for Seb if he can get it. Seb currently best lap of a 2:10.225. Frank Mena a 2:09.59. So Seb's got to find that little bit of speed that he wasn't able to during qual. They do have a bit of a headwind through sector 1, but nothing too crazy, as Articulate Fox puts up a 2:08.056 as the fastest lap of the race so far. Jeez.
Very fast lap time right there. Very similar to his times when he was hot lapping, which is very it says something, right? These guys are dealing with these tires getting worn down. The fact that he's able to set that time that late into the race is very impressive for sure. We're 7 laps down, and we still have a few more to go. As Frank breaks much later into that corner there, but I will say Seb does have the better exit out of those corners, which gives him a little bit of breathing room, but Frank does have the better entry into that corner, which might cost Seb a little bit of time. It doesn't seem to affect either of them too much, as they're very, very close to where they were at the beginning of that section of corners.
Oh, something must have happened up front. I was just gonna say. So we tune.
Patchy makes a move.
Yeah, we tune into Patchy. Oh. All right, so Patchy's having a little bit of a lag spike there, but I don't think that that's been a consistent issue. Or is that something on our side?
It might be server end, it seems like. Or on our side of things.
Let's try and take a look from Jay's perspective. It seems to have mellowed itself out a little bit. So we'll try and watch from the front for now.
Patchy has a small hiccup there, trying to chase down Jay there. Does drop back a little bit, and now we're seeing his gap increase a little bit. Now we're seeing Frank Mena does make the move on Sebastian there.
Tried to switch over. Yeah, I just didn't have the angle for it, but that pass does get completed. Speaking of passes, we're going to try not to miss another one. We've got Christian Crafton looking to line up ETD with the lime green Josh Fulton right behind them. So this could be a little through goes Hamilton situation if things go south. So we'll try and watch from Hamilton's perspective and see if he can make something happen. There is a lot going on. It looks like Frank did make the move past Seb, but Seb isn't giving up as Seb's sticking within that 0.4 range. Hard to decide which battle to continue watching. We're going to have to keep bouncing back and forth as Seb actually starts to drift a little bit away from Frank Mena. Going to have to work once more to get back into striking position, but now we see Brett Anderson looking for that chance on Slay 40 as well. Who would have thought?
To try and make a move on the Inferno. They're still within about half a second there. So yeah, there's a lot of very interesting battles happening very late in the race. A lot of races we see towards the end with a minute and a half left. A lot of these guys have kind of found their position and it's kind of defined. But this race is completely different. We've seen a ton of late moves, and I think we're going to see a few more before this race is over.
Yeah, it's definitely open to the end here. I think Seb might get a little bit of a striking opportunity. Ooh, actually comes back off through Delaware and nearly cost him. Gives Slay an opportunity and Brett, I think. Look at them slowly creeping up behind. I don't think it's going to be enough of an opportunity, but that might lose Seb his chance for a late game move like we've been talking about. Brett definitely still within a striking distance, so looking to get past Slay here.
Slay is a slight slide in the exit of that corner, which gives Brett just a tiny bit inside, but does break a little later. He takes very different lines into that corner.
I think Brett definitely would have had the chance there. I would have liked to have seen it, but I think he's banking on this one more lap. He will have to get close enough to make something happen. Oh, and unlike Inferno, unlike Rev, who finds his way past Inferno, so does ETD and Josh Fulton due to an unfortunate spin heading towards Columbia Circle. We'll try and watch back to another battle happening, but we're slowly seeing these battles come to an end. ETD is going to be one of the last few racers with a chance. Going to go for his opportunity before the final lap of the race, it seems. Looking for a move on Christian Crafton, pulls out to the inside, probably going to go for the late break. Can they pull it off? They try. And they definitely get through clean, the two of them going a little side by side, but with relative ease. As we see Josh Fulton trying to catch up to both racers ahead. I think we're starting to take a look at our final grid here.
It does seem like everyone's kind of made their final moves so far. That being said, though, Christian Crafton is
I was going to say creeping.
That last position.
Not giving up. I think, like I said, these guys might be in the same class, so this could be a battle for the marbles. I can understand why it's not one that's going to end lightly, as Christian going in with a late braking opportunity there. That desperation, though, might cost him, as Josh now finds himself getting closer and closer. We do have Articulate Fox heading over towards the line, so we'll tune over for just a second, as we've got to see the man who's been in front consistently cross with ease. And we'll take a look at Patchy just to see, just in case, but it doesn't look like he will get that final opportunity. We'll take a look over at Brett Anderson. He's going to also have a chance heading in towards some of the final corners. I know we don't want to miss that battle going on with Josh, Christian, and ETD, but there is one more chance for a move on one last turn, and Brett's going to go for it. Can he make it? He's going through with a lot of speed, but it's just barely not enough. It's going to go to he's going to go to Slay. Josh does make the move, it seems, and will find themselves well ahead of Christian Crafton. Unfortunately, neither one is going to get an opportunity on Exeter up front. The Inferno, it looks like, teleports to pits, will not be able to finish the race in full, but obviously we'll still get points. I think we can give that for being only one lap down is justified.
That is a big one, though, for the Inferno, as he's only 1 point ahead of Nick Cruz. So that might be a championship-changing race right there for those two.
That it is, and in the overall standings, at least, it is very big for Shiloh, as we see Shiloh now moves up to P16, as they're going to be ahead of Ricky Richmond, Inferno, and Thorn Maddox. So that teleport, a helpful one for our racer who suffered a little misfortune with the internet, causing a disconnect reconnect situation just before the race. But we'll stick with them as they head towards the line. And they'll be, I believe, our final racer to come across. Not as much opportunity for shenanigans with the pit being where it is for these guys, but knowing them, I'm sure they'll find a way.
Oh, for sure. It is the Real Rocky Racing way.
A lot of good action for race one. I am definitely nervous.
Race two with that reverse grid is going to be very, very interesting for sure, especially with how close the grid was this race.
Patchy, the ping thing, I'm trying to say it. nicely because these are incredibly high quality maps and they're always really well done. And like the Vegas one we use is the same guy and everything. But when they're in the beta stages for whatever reason, they're always a little tough because obviously I think it's because they're unfinished, so they're not like optimized or whatever you would say. So I think there's still like test resources in the backgrounds and things like that that cause it so it's a little more stress on both server and client side, and that's why ping's a little harder on some of these. But we still use them anyway because, like, I mean, like I didn't even know this was. Is there a race in Washington D.C. for the E Series?
I have no idea, to be honest.
It said it was based on the E Prix, but like, if it isn't, that's even more impressive because this is crazy. Yeah.
For sure, this is a great track, and it would be awesome to see actual race cars go around.
I know there is a New York City one. I don't know if we're using that one this season, though, because I think that one has less pit boxes. So that might even be like an R factor conversion or something like that.
I am curious to see if Ricky Richmond and the Inferno will get placed in P18 and 19, which would bump up Maddox, because they did not technically finish the race yet. We will see that it might have bumped up Maddox.
I think it ends up with whoever went the furthest, but I'm not positive as to how that'll all work out.
We'll say our racers are back on the grid now. Going through, looking at them, Shiloh being in P1 for the beginning of this race, followed by Chris C, then Osters, then Christian Crafton, followed by Josh Fulton, as well as Elvis, Rev, Nick Cruz, Brett Anderson, as well as Slay in our top 10, followed by Sebastian, Frank Mena, Wibba, Achi, Iron J, Fox, the Inferno, Ricky Richmond, and T Maddox bringing up the rear of
very
this
impressive.
grid so far.
I'm proud of you.
Trying to go as fast as I can there.
Yeah, that was very good. All right. We've linked up with the outside racer again, this time Chris C. Shiloh taking pole position. Front row heading out for race 2. So a nice good start there. You can see already a little bit of grouping. We did see our chaos here on the first race, so we'll see how they make it around. Looks like Seb Bellew, our first victim, Patchy victim number 2, as they find themselves facing the wrong way. A little bit of Rocket League rules going on there with Thorn and Patchy, which I respect, and we'll try and grab on with Articulate Fox at the back of the main pack here. So you can see everybody very grouped together, unlike race 1. No one has separated just yet. Ooh, a little bit of chaos there. I'm not sure which ones. I think that's going to be ETD and Jay. Oh, that's a huge blow, as Jay is one of the big competitors here with Articulate Fox. So Jay and Patchy at the back of the grid. At least those two will be competing together to work their way. I'd like to see them work together a little bit and try and catch up to these guys ahead. We'll look up front with Shiloh doing an excellent job holding off the grid behind. Looks like Josh Fulton providing a little bit of a cushion with a quick line through Delaware. That was nice speed as he brings himself right up to the bumper of Shiloh in front. You can see the full grid behind, a little bit of side-by-side action throughout, as we're hoping to see everybody still appear beyond this final few turns, which they are. Nobody too far away from the pack. Even Patchy and Jay find themselves right at the tail end. If you look at the track map, you can see everybody is actually still very, very close together. A little bit of contact between Frank, Mena, and Rev, but both racers managed to keep moving through. And it seems
side by side now with Josh Fulton and Shiloh. Does Josh get the overtake? It seems like they will. Over Shiloh, they are ahead by just a tiny bit, about a tire's length. Will Shiloh make the dive? Shiloh does make the dive, but does go a little bit deeper than Josh does. Will the switchback work? And it seems like it might have. As Josh gets a much better exit and Shiloh is dropping a little bit of contact there with Ostrich and P3, but Shiloh maintains P2.
That does back up the grid behind just a little bit. You can see that familiar purple livery of Articulate Fox lurking in the background in P9. So actually in some of those straightaways, you can see Ostrich spin out. Let's see where that costs. That's going to be, if they were able to straighten out in time, they would have been able to get through, but it looks like they'll find themselves at the very back of the grid. Seb leading the current gapped pack, but Patchy hot on his heels. We'll take a look. It looks like just in time as we see this grid shaking up a little bit more. I would consider this 3 wide as they head through a very tight turn in a moment. They're going to have to make decisions, and decisions were made for them as they actually do a decent job of continuing to move. Chris C being the only one really caught up in that, finds themselves with a little bit of contact on Articulate Fox as a big chunk of the grid looks to move through. Articulate Fox biding their time, still in front of both Patchy and Jay, but now Patchy directly behind them. This is the main group that they have to get through. Once they can start trying to claw their way up at the top. Josh Fulton 4 seconds ahead of Shiloh and Wibba. Wibba's actually going to be Fox's main problem. Fox is actually going to need to find a way through this, and soon. And it looks like Patchy is not going to be waiting for Fox to find that chance. He's going to try and make some space for himself. But
and
nobody.
Very great side-by-side racing here so far.
Absolutely, but nobody able to find a way through.
That's good for Fox. He's gotten around Chris C there, and now has to make his way to the rest of the pack there, which are a little bit ahead of him, 1.5 seconds. But from what his lap times have been in the previous race, he should be able to make that gap up pretty quick.
Yeah, and we do see Josh Fulton now has Patchy behind him as Patchy was able to make the move on Shiloh. Shiloh starting to fall a little bit back towards the main pack. Slight gap between them as Christian Crafton and the Black Gunners currently leads this grouping. We do see Jay still struggling to catch up to the pack, but a lot of racing left. I'm sure they'll be able to find their groove. 33-degree track temps, a little bit of a headwind on the first straight. Definitely a change in pace we'll see from the previous event.
Most definitely is. Now we see Fox looking to make a move on the outside of Rev here. He doesn't have the inside line for this next corner, but will he outbrake? Rev does keep himself right alongside Fox. Fox to have the inside line in the next corner here. Does make the pass cleanly.
And a lot of acceleration through.
Almost definitely.
Oh, and it looks like Patchy actually was able to take that opportunity as well. Slay's going to try to make the move with him, and maybe even the move on Patchy. We'll see where the braking lines up as Slay drops back a little bit to let Patchy through, but that puts him right back into striking distance of Rev behind. Rev's going to use the side-by-side to go for a late braking opportunity. And that'll keep him in front of Slay for the moment. Nick Cruz moving up in front of Shiloh following a little bit of a crash with the environment. Seems that's going to form another neat little pack here. We'll try and jump up to that one, but Frank Mena, Christian Crafton, and Seb Bellew, who's going to be looking for the opportunity on Shiloh up front. We'll see if they're able to make it by. They're certainly going to try. And the 7-Eleven car looking pretty cleanly as it gets by the only other vehicle with green wheels on the grid. Trying to take a look at all the action as we see Patchy trying to make his way through the grid to keep up with Articulate Fox. Fox has made his way through 2 more racers. Little bit of contact there. Ooh, a lot of bit of contact as that's going to be Shiloh finds himself spun around. They are now in P13, in danger of getting caught up by ETD, which they are, possibly even the Inferno as well, and J, but they're able to keep moving at that point, as they have a little bit of side-by-side action going on. We're going to bounce back for a moment and see where this goes. Ooh, a little swerve by Shiloh. A great job avoiding the contact and saving the race for Jay. But it does cost them a chance at a position. Just taking a look to see if Ricky Richmond is able to make the move. It doesn't seem like they are. Patchy, though, is able to make the move on Christian Crafton finally and start chasing Fox once again. Though as I say that, Fox might be taking the pass on Frank Mena up front. They are still side by side. It's not anyone's position just yet, but Fox definitely looks like they might have a better run. These guys are starting to fall away, but Brett Anderson doesn't want to say goodbye just yet. He's going to look to get past Christian Crafton and join up to the action ahead. We do see Patchy and Articulate Fox looking to make it through. We'll try and grab on as Frank Mena finds himself in a front row seat to one fierce battle. These guys have 11 minutes to make up about 10 seconds to the lead car. Josh Fulton getting ready to defend his lead to Wibba up front at quite the inopportune time for us. He needs to defend it for just a little bit longer so we can see how this one shakes up. Apache is in the lead for a moment as they both make it through past Frank Mena. Articulate Fox not going to let this one go too easily, so Apache's going to have to hang on and nearly loses it. Manages to keep going, but is going to lose the spot both to Fox and Mena, and we'll have to get back on the gas. Wibba now looking for the chance to get past Fulton. We'll see if maybe he uses him for the bump draft advantage down this main straight and give these guys a good run. Nope, Wibba wants the space to the grid behind. He knows what is coming his way. And we'll see if maybe Josh is going to go for it here. They do see side by side. Josh could go for the inside track, but is just going to focus on staying ahead. These guys are not in the same class, so not the battle that they need to have, but the one battle that does need to happen here between Christian Crafton and Chris C, as Rev finds themselves right in the middle of it. Rev has not been ranked yet, so for all he knows, Rev is right amongst his class there. Trying to look around and see if Christian Crafton can move up, though, and join this fight one more time. It looks like we have a Thorn Mannix DQ from the race, unfortunately. Good solid showing, though, for race 1 and race 2 so far. Hope to see them back on the grid for the next event. Did Apache have a spin? Did we miss something? I'm not sure if Patchy had a spin there, but Patchy finds themselves back behind Frank Mena and quite a ways away from Articulate Fox up front. So back on the chase, Articulate Fox looks to be within about a 6-second, 7-second gap to the leader. So that will be something to keep our eyes on. Speaking of, we got a few close competitions going on right now. Inferno and ETD as they head through the rotunda. Inferno takes a little bit of a rougher line through and is going to need to get back on the chase. Patchy looking for a second move on Frank Mena for the race. Finds a good line through into Constitution. Will be close enough to get the draft. Knowing him, I don't see the bump coming. He's going to sneak off at the last second for this inside lane. And looks like Frank is going to give it to him. Will the late break be enough? Patchy goes through with a ton of rotation and a ton of speed. Actually leaves plenty of space for Frank. But Frank is going to find themselves in danger of the big grouping behind. So Brent Anderson and Slay looking to make their way through with Patchy if they can. Definitely have a decent chance heading back through Columbus Circle. As Articulate Fox and Nick Cruz now starting to get within range of Josh Fulton. Josh has been having one hell of a race up in P3 there, but I think still well ahead of the rest of his class.
But if this is the first time I think we've seen Josh on the podium so far in this season.
Trying not to miss any of the key action here, as a lot of battles once more shaking up as we get closer and closer to the end. These guys are making us work for it, huh, today? Got to keep our eyes on everything.
Oh, definitely. The second race has been super close. I mean, there's no way to tell who's going to come out on top. As we see a little contact there spinning both the Miatas, as Christian Crafton does make his way through on Jay and Chris.
Yeah, and Jay just trying to desperately make some positions back wherever they can. This one's been a rougher of the races. This is where that luck comes into play a little bit, like we were speaking earlier. Articulate Fox moving past one more racer, but now has, it seems, about 10 seconds to make up in a 5 minutes time. Wibba's best lap, a 2:09.6 to Articulate Fox's 2:09.3. So gonna be pretty hard to pull something like that off, barring any incidents. But Fox could still make their way up to P1. Now, currently Fox is in a class of their own, as Jesus and Wyatt have not shown up for any races, or will not be showing up for any more races this season, rather. But I believe there's going to be a re-ranking one last time tonight and a split into 4 classes. So Fox might have a little bit of company there and could find themselves with a little more competition than they expected. We do see Lando, one of the faster racers, taking a break from this week's racing. That'll put a little gap.
We do have a little bit of bias there, but Josh Fulton has put up a great race so far in P4, which is one of the highest positions he's had so far this year, or this season, I should say. Which he's not even racing within his class currently, but being able to stay up with these guys just proves that he's able to run his awesome.
Yeah, definitely able to perform under pressure, as you can see, even with these guys all barreling down and basically boxing him in now for a moment, he's able to keep his cool and keep the line until we jinx him with a little bit of broadcaster's curse and a dangerous re-entry there, costing Brett and a little opportunity, as he was getting the chance to pass by Josh as well. Josh actually finds himself within drafting range of Slay up front, and Patchy looking for a way past Nick Cruz. So like race 1, as we get into the final few moments, we're going to see more and more passing opportunities start to pop up for whatever reason. As Ricky goes for a little bit of a switchback here and slides through into Constitution Avenue, but he is going to give Ostrich the tow down a pretty long straightaway. We'll see what he can make use of this. As they swing through Delaware, Ostrich is going to look for the opportunity to get, take it back. The 26 car on 58. Caillou gets by. I do see
the Fox chasing Sebastian down here. He might make the move on the inside here before this first corner. We'll see if he does. He does. Sebastian decides it's not worth it to fight this. He's going to slot back behind.
And does look like he's going to let him try and chase down the leader up front. But with 8 minutes, or sorry, a minute and a half remaining, I don't see that one occurring. We're about 51 seconds into the lap, so there is a slight chance that this could be the last lap of the race, but I think we're going to see one more lap, which I'm sure a few of these racers will be happy to hear, as we see Christian Crafton trying to line up one more attempt on Rev up front. We do see Chris C slowly creeping in there. He's got a little bit of a better fastest lap time, but might not be able to make much use of it. Christian, however, definitely has a chance into Pennsylvania, getting within drafting range, at least enough to get towed along and stay close. I was tight against that inside wall there. You can tell that he is pushing hard.
And so both these racers putting up the best laps they possibly can here towards the end of the race. Only about 20 seconds left in the race here. We might get one more lap.
I think we are. I'm looking at the live timings here. So one more lap to put it all on the line, and I can definitely see a few racers who are going to appreciate that, as Brett Anderson finds himself getting closer within drafting range. Slay starting to move within a passing opportunity, and Chris C has moved up quite a bit on his companion here as we head in towards the final lap. So starting from the top, looks like Brett Anderson's going to have the first chance as he moves past Josh Fulton into Jersey and Southwest. Exit is going to be important here, but he seems to have done it pretty smoothly. Shiloh finds a position on Ricky Richmond. I'm not sure. Didn't see anything on the live timings there, so I think that was just a clean passing opportunity, and Ricky finds themselves 1.5 seconds behind. Maybe spun themselves out at some point. Brett now starting to move away, so we're going to look back at Christian Crafton. Still close enough to get a chance on Rev. We'll see if they can make the most of it. This is going to be, I think, the last opportunity we see forming around the grid, although Slay creeping in up top there. As they head into a long straight, we're actually going to peek over to this one for just a moment. I know Christian's still looking for his way by, but Slay is finding a chance at the same time. Going to go side by side through Delaware on the last lap and pulls ahead. A clean turn through Columbus is key here. And he manages to pull it off for now. We do see Christian Crafton trading places with Rev for a moment and then falling back a little bit on the grid. Let's take a look back as we see Slay seems to have successfully pulled off that move. Christian Crafton did, I think, go for a too wide situation and ended up on the worse off line. Isn't going to be able to find their way through there. I do want to continue watching this battle, but I do see Jay looking for one more chance on Frank Mena up front. We've seen the final turn be all that matters before. If anyone can make use of it, it's going to be Jay, as we see him lining up for massive acceleration into the final straight. Can he pull it off? Not going to get the chance this time around. He'll lock up a top 10 finish, though. Christian Crafton and Chris C, a battle to the end, as it should be, between the two co-drivers. And it'll be Chris C who takes it. Christian giving a little love tap to wrap up the race. The Inferno taking the title over ETD in their battle. We didn't get to watch as much of it as we should have, but those guys were going head to head pretty much the entire event. You do see Ostrich coming across the line, P16. Head over to Shiloh. Coming down for P17. A great performance. Race 2, no internet issues this time around, so they got a nice chance to race with the pack. We do see Ricky Richmond might be in danger. That is a familiar sound. I want to say of no fuel.
He very well could be. We're not seeing any smoke, so the engine might be fine. It might be a no fuel issue, but it seems like he might just make it across the line here.
It's going to be very close. You can see at the bottom left of the screen, his foot is all the way on the gas. There is no gas, but Ricky does make it across the line to finish off Washington, D.C. So one hell of a race, I'll say. These guys did a great job on a very tough track. One of the tougher ones of the season, but not the toughest one they'll see by any means. So still a lot more for these guys to see. Let's take a look at when the next one is. You know off the top of your head? You probably don't.
I do not.
All right, let's see here. It's going to be the 30th. So not next week, but the week after, we will be in Macau. And then we still have St. Petersburg, Port Newark, and Fellberg Ring to round things off. So appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you guys on Friday for the GT3.